Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us in this coastal resilience session. This is already the third day of the forum, but we still have a lot to learn and share with you. My name is Joy Bailey, and I'm an urban climate change resilience specialist with the Urban Climate Change Resilience Trust Fund, which is administered by the ADB. For the next half hour, I will be your moderator, and we will be joined by two distinguished coastal resilience specialists. We have Mr. Sebastian Boulay from Sofar Ocean and Mr. Mohammad Iksan from the Coral Triangle Initiative for Coral Reefs, Fisheries, and Food Security. The tools that they will showcase in this session have been selected in the virtual expo of this forum. I hope you were able to visit them. With more than 40 booths, the virtual expo is overflowing with innovative solutions to our ocean challenges. The exhibitors include private companies, NGOs, public and multilateral agencies, and initiatives supported by the academe. In the coastal resilience track, exhibitors include a wide variety of solutions, including semi-permeable dams to restore mangrove coastlines, satellite imagery to map and monitor the world's coral reefs, biodiversity, and coastal areas. There's also digital modeling and design solutions for coastal engineering solutions, marine buoys that collect ocean data, which we will feature this afternoon, and a map georeference database of marine protected areas. There's also an exhibitor showcasing how volunteer veterinarians support marine megafauna in Indonesia. So for this afternoon, as we are joined by Mr. Boulay and Mr. Iksan, let's jump to the first presentation. So Mr. Sebastian Boulay represents Sofar Ocean. Sofar Ocean collects data using low-cost ocean buoys to provide critical information to science, society, and industries. The real-time ocean weather sensor network is the world's largest and provides the most accurate marine weather information and forecast to power industry-specific solutions. Sebastian is a physical oceanographer. He's also the Director of Business Development at Sofar Ocean. Joining Sofar Ocean, he was previously responsible for the worldwide marine forecast services at the New Zealand Met Service. And at Sofar Ocean, he has been helping researchers, engineers, and citizen scientists to collect the marine data that matters to their operations. He also supports the development of the next generation of ocean monitoring devices and services. So we'll hear more about this exciting gadget called the Spotter from Sebastian. A gentle reminder to those of us who have joined them at this session, on the right side of your screen, there's a Q&A tab. So we encourage you to post your questions there, and we'll try to address them at the latter part of the session. So over to you, Sebastian.
Hi everyone, my name is Sebastian Boulay. I'm an oceanographer and Director of Business Development at Sofar Ocean. Our office is located in San Francisco, but I'm personally based in New Zealand. For those of you that don't know us yet, we're a team of about 50 oceanographers and engineers. And what you see here on the screen is our mission statement. We want to connect the world's oceans. We are fundamentally doing this to help progress our understanding of science and give the keys to people to understand their local marine environment. Fortunately, this approach is not simple and presents some complexities. And a big bottleneck, as most of you would know, is the access to in situ data, to marine observations. And this is typically made complicated by the cost of the sensors, the complexity of the deployment, or the accessibility of the data itself. So our vision really is to empower everyone, scientist or not, to collect the marine data that matters to them. And practically that means offering affordable, convenient, and flexible sensors. And believe it or not, it all starts with a simple idea: to make it easier to gather data. We are now living in an era when it's possible to build tens of thousands of remote monitoring and sensing devices that report back to a centralized database in real time using the Internet of Things approach. And here on the screen is our spotter buoy that's already widely used around the world by weather agencies, research institutes, port authorities, anyone with an interest in the ocean, really. We designed the buoy to be about 30 to 40 times more cost-effective than existing weather buoys. This was the first buoy of its kind, the first that was designed by scientists and completely validated by other research agencies. Small size means that we can bring the weight down. You don't need a large vessel anymore, and the instrument can be hand deployed. You can use small vessels of opportunity, and it becomes accessible to untrained citizen scientists. This is especially important at the moment with the travel restrictions due to COVID. Being able to task local people to deploy marine sensors at your research location without having to get on a plane. And you can see here on the screen fishermen in Vanuatu or Alaska deploying our buoys on behalf of researchers. What's really exciting too is that we can now scale up observation networks, install a lot of instruments at low cost. And that means we can stop thinking about unique, expensive instruments with no redundancy, but instead think of a network of sensors as the instrument itself. And we can step away from the hardware and focus on the data and the insight that it provides. Now, the usual mooring of ropes and chains that I just described can be replaced by our smart mooring, a sturdy Kevlar cable providing power and communication to underwater sensors and allowing their data to be accessible in real time. You can now use your sensors data for real-time operations, for quick decisions and warnings. For example, we can include a bottom-mounted pressure sensor to get real-time water level monitoring for storm surge, tide, infragravity wave studies, and notify coastal communities during inundation events. This was the approach taken by the United States Geological Service. They installed a few of our buoys with a pressure sensor to monitor the water levels and improve their coastal inundation forecasts. The system allows them to deploy a large number of stations and have at the same location easy access to wave and storm surge data. This is particularly important during the hurricane season, as traditional tide gauges are usually installed in ports, where it's already too late to notify coastal communities, unfortunately. But with this system, you can now capture the water level variation further offshore and have enough time to notify the coastal population. One of the early adopters of the spotter buoy has been the SPCE team in the Pacific region, helping other island nations develop and maintain efficient forecasting systems. It's been amazing to follow their journey from a couple of buoys in Fiji a few years ago to an established network of marine sensors in many countries, as you can see on the map. And SPC is doing a lot of work with local communities to make sure they understand how important these buoys are for their safety, to notify them of incoming tropical cyclones, for example. You can see here the 7-meter swell being measured during the recent cyclone in Iran. More recently, we were also quite glad to see Kiribati get its first wave buoy installed. And you can see here that the deployment of the wave buoy seems a lot easier, and you can quite easily just jump in the warm water. I won't have time to play this video, but you can proceed to this link. There's a great story of an organization using our devices to scale up marine measurements. The coral reefs are on the decline, and everyone here knows that. Aqualink is a non-profit organization delivering our buoys to citizen scientists around the world, and they are already monitoring over 200 sites globally. You can see on the map here, with wave buoys and temperature strains. And this is especially a great story once again, as they managed to deploy this vast network of sensors during a pandemic using people with no training. Our work started around 2016, and we have now had the pleasure of bringing those insights to stakeholders all around the world. And here are a few examples of the organizations we're currently working with. These agencies have really adopted our approach of using large, scalable, yet affordable sensor networks rather than using isolated, expensive devices. And that will be it for me today. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Sebastian. That has been quite a great sneak peek into the tools that Sofar Ocean have, and also the emphasis on the importance of evidence-based decision-making and what role data gathering plays. Before we move on to the next presentation, please allow me to ask a few easy questions for now to elaborate further for the audience who joined us. I'm curious to know regarding the feature of this spotter or the buoys, are they calibrated off the shelf or only upon deployment? And then for how long can they be usable? And at which point or by when do you need to do maintenance on the equipment?
Yeah, these are great questions. These are great questions. Thank you, Joy. Traditionally, the wave buoys were using accelerometer sensors, which tend to drift over time and require regular calibration. And the spotter, which actually I have here on my desk, I hope you can see it, the spotter wave measurements are based on GPS technology. And using this, that means the buoys are already calibrated when you get them. And they do not require to be sent back to the factory or recovered on land ever. And practically, that means that your marine monitoring is continuous and you save a lot of money on maintenance and shipping costs. As far as maintenance, because the buoys have solar panels and rechargeable batteries, there's no need to swap the batteries either. The only maintenance that's required is quite standard. We only ask that the buoy is cleaned up regularly, say every couple of months, to remove the biofouling, like algae or shells that can grow on it. And this can be done really quite easily from the back deck of any small vessel or even a kayak without even disconnecting the buoy from its mooring. And there's no need for any kind of training for this. Anyone can do it. You can task local people to take care of the buoys. And we're really trying to encourage local stewardship of the buoys with the local communities. At the end of the day, this data is here to help them, and it's always a great idea to involve them in the deployment and the maintenance of the buoy.
Thank you, Sebastian. It's also nice of you to show us a sample. So the equipment is very portable. And then as you were saying, it's actually low maintenance. Some of those who are interested to get this kind of equipment might wonder, so the cost on the flyer mentions each of this spotter cost about $4,900 US. Is this for the equipment alone, or it includes the cost of cloud data storage and application?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we're quite transparent about our prices. We like to keep it simple and remove any friction, really. And we're fighting every day to provide the lowest cost possible for our devices. And each buoy is provided with an online dashboard where you can visualize the real time and the historical data. You can download it, and you can change a few settings too remotely, like the transmission rate and so on. You can also set up a virtual fence around the buoy so you get notified if the buoy gets out of position. We also provide an API to easily share and access the data. And that makes the integration of this data really easy into other platforms or numerical weather models, for example. There's no licensing fee for the software. It's just part of the package you get. And we also include the first year of Iridium communication. So the buoy is delivered ready to work in a few minutes. It's really a turnkey system. The only thing we don't include is the actual mooring itself, but it's quite easy to build it locally, sourcing local material, and we provide some guidelines for that.
Thank you, Sebastian. So that those buoys actually have a lot of applications for different projects on coastal resilience, which brings to mind the Urban Climate Change Resilience Trust Fund actually supports various coastal resilience projects in the 8 countries it supports. For example, we have Dong Hoi Sand Dune Restoration and Hoi An Flood Forecasting and Early Warning System in Vietnam. We're also supporting a community-led project in Siargao, Philippines, as well as revitalization of informal settlements using a water-sensitive approach in Indonesia. So we're moving on now to the next presentation. This is going to be an elaboration by Mr. Mohammad Iksan on the tool called the Coral Triangle Initiative Atlas. So created by the CTI CCF, this atlas is an online GIS database providing governments, NGOs, and researchers with a view of spatial data at the regional scale. It aims to improve the efficiency of management and conservation planning in the region by giving researchers and managers access to spatial information while encouraging them to share their data to complete the gaps. Mr. Iksan, who is joined today by his colleagues Anjum and Solomon, are marine scientists. So Iksan is specializing in conservation biology, and he has worked previously with international organizations focusing on threatened marine species and on sustainable fisheries. So over to you, Iksan.
Okay, thank you very much, Joy, for the introduction. Also, very good to see Sebastian's presentation, which is I really like it. And then today I'm going to explain about the City Atlas of Coral Triangle Initiative. And then first one is I'm going to explain about this initiative is a multilateral partnership of 6 countries. We are working together to sustain extraordinary marine and coastal resource by addressing crucial issues in food security, climate change, and marine biodiversity. And in 2009, leaders in the region launched this initiative through the signing of the Leaders' Declaration, as you can see in the picture. And then the members of these countries include Indonesia, Malaysia, Papua New Guinea, Philippines, Solomon Island, and Timor-Leste, or we can call them like City 6 of the representing custodian of Coral Triangle area. And then this is City Atlas. Maybe some of you already know that this is an online GIS database that providing governments, NGO, and researchers from many universities and organizations with spatial data at the regional scale, which is in a Coral Triangle. And then this data on fisheries, biodiversity, and natural resources, also socio-economic, have been collected for decades by scientists and managers working in different parts of the region. This information aims to provide an overview and support management planning and decision making at regional level, which is in the long run will help us conserving the coral reefs and managing fisheries and then ensure food security in the region. And as you can see in the left side, the City Atlas will provide efficiency and management and conservation planning in the region by giving researchers and management access to spatial information while encouraging them to share their data to complete the gaps and therefore reducing duplicate data collection efforts, also providing most complete and current data available. And the City Atlas will particularly useful in the design and planning of MPA and NPA networks throughout the Coral Triangle region. And then the expansion of City Atlas will improve conservation by giving scientists and decision makers a vision of ecological process beyond political boundaries and providing the building blocks to use spatial decision support, such as, like, for example, Marxism for marine conservation planning, and avoiding duplication and then enable valuable time and resource to be most effectively located. This is example in the red box, some criteria like coral reef, and you can see in the map the coverage of coral reefs in there. And then this is the example of maps that you can generate from the data of the Coral Triangle. Any kind of, like, for example, coral reef coverage, and then mangroves or anything else, you can like make it how you can and easy to read for you, and then you can disseminate it to your organization or your target audience. And if you want to try it, you can just visit our website in there. That would be nice to contribute the data also. So for example, this is the countries, for example, Indonesia. If we put data in there and it will compile a statistic of the information, for example, the marine area, and then MPA, and the number of MPA, and so on. So it's really very nice to see in here. So in the website, we have option to contribute data, and then we need to fill some criteria and minimum information for the City Atlas to read your data, and then we'll be verified by some officers in the countries or in the regional secretariat.
Thank you, Iksan. What's also
thank you very much. Yeah.
What's also impressive about the efforts of the Coral Triangle Initiative Atlas is that it's on a regional scale. So I would like to ask this question. The CTI Atlas is the first attempt to collate and integrate spatial data at a regional scale. It must be quite challenging. Would you like to share with us a few of the issues you encounter, whether cultural or institutional barriers, in finding the metadata so that you can put them in a catalog?
Okay, thank you for the question, Joy. And yeah, of course, there is many challenge regarding this city atlas. For example, if we involve also more than one countries, there will be a difference in information that they require for example, for a marine protected area. For example, one countries have some requirements for that minimum data. Some others, they have different one. And then other challenge is some organization have a dedicated person for manage this data and put it in platform, and someone have less people that responsible for it. So yeah, that's some challenge in it. And also to format the data so it will be able to similar format between countries, that also that we need to work on. So yeah.
Thank you.
But yeah, it's very good for the countries.
Thank you, Iksan. And then in terms of the users of the data, it was mentioned that it's dedicated for government, civil society, and so on, and probably researchers as well. What has been the feedback so far from the users?
Okay, some of the data is using for MPA, help to manage and to establish an MPA. And also we still need to, for example, need to do some capacity building to, like I said, like officer or people that are manage this data in each countries. So yeah, and we can also, for example, some data can be used for a research by universities or government, but anyone can access that. For example, we want to produce cute maps for schools using this information. We can also do that, poster for exhibition. Anyone can access the data. I think that's the hope of the City Atlas.
Yes, I think that's very important, not just to collect the data, but to make the data usable. So I would like to invite those who joined us this afternoon in this session. Please do post your questions. We still have a few minutes remaining before we close. So address it to the specific speaker that you would like to respond to. In the meantime, I would like to offer a common question for both of our panelists. Would you like to share any particular advice how data generated could be made more accessible and easier to understand for people who are actually not marine science experts? So maybe we could start with Sebastian and then followed by Iksan.
That's a good question and a very broad subject. I think what we need to recognize is often the coastal communities have a lot of knowledge already of the marine environment, and it may not be exactly expressed in a scientific way, but we need to close the gap between the science, that's sometimes hard to understand, and the local knowledge. And luckily, with growing communication networks, and everyone has a phone now, there's 4G cell phone service everywhere and Wi-Fi, the dissemination of the data and the insights is going to be more, it's going to be easier and easier. And I think we will close that gap between data and insight, really, and actionable insight. But we need a closed feedback loop so that the local communities, the people that really need a little bit of help and attention, can also give some feedback to the scientific community in general.
Yeah. For me, I think I'm gonna second Sebastian about that. Yeah, as I said before, it's City Atlas is accessible for not only for government and universities, but also for NGO and general public. So yeah, it depends to us how we disseminate and how we wrap it into a communicable presentation. For example, yeah, like I said before, the like poster or like information, you can put it on videos, you can like use information for communicable map that we can make to audience, for example, that living remote in somewhere in the Coral Triangle. So it depends how we present the data. For example, even for scientists, if we just look at the raw data or numbers, we tend to not understand it. But if we make it into a communicable map, we can understand. So hopefully, general public can also benefit.
Thank you, Sebastian, and thank you, Iksan. So what your two presentations actually emphasize is that there are consequential and overlapping issues such as food security, climate change, and marine biodiversity. And these usually are factored in when setting national and regional goals. And the role of technology is really very important, and that this has to be fully functioning and effectively managed. So for those who wish to know more about Sofar Ocean and Coral Triangle initiatives, please do visit their websites or reach out to our panelists. Their contact details are on the platform. So we're nearing the close of this session, but let me also just mention and plug in quickly. There are other virtual booth exhibitors at this forum, including those on coastal resilience track. One of them is Wetlands International, who together with its various partners has been promoting nature-based solutions for ocean resilience in Indonesia. So let me, please allow us to show you a 1-minute video.
Perkenalkan, sama saya Nur Khomeiti. Jadi gelombang langsung naik ke pematang tambak sehingga menjadikan pematang tambak itu rusak, sehingga mungkin dari budidaya masyarakatnya pada hilang. Ini adalah bangunan hybrid engineering.